Hi everybody, I'm Mary from the Coaching Tools Company. Welcome to today's webinar. So before we get started with this session, I'd like to go over some housekeeping. This webinar will be 90 minutes, starting with Emma-Louise's 60-minute presentation on what it really takes to run a successful coaching business, followed by 30 minutes for questions. Please ask your questions in the Q&A box. If you're joining us on Zoom, just move your mouse or tap your smartphone screen to see the menu bar to access the Q&A and chat boxes. So I'm thrilled to introduce you to Emma-Louise. Emma-Louise Elsey is a professional life coach, NLP practitioner, founder of Simplicity Life Coaching, the Coaching Tools Company, and now FierceKindness.com. Prior to becoming a life coach, she worked for Fortune 500 companies, first as a computer programmer, then moving into project and relationship management. She loves managing teams and is fascinated by people, leadership, and social dynamics. She discovered coaching in 2003 and hasn't looked back. So just to be sure that you can all hear me, can you let me know in the chat where you're joining us from today? Okay, great. Let me see this here. Okay, hello from San Francisco. Oh, hello, Amy. Thanks for joining us. Lisa from New York, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Iowa in the house. Dubai, great. Thank you and welcome for joining. Welcome. Coquitlam, okay, great. I'm from Port Coquitlam. We've got Sacramento, Virginia, Alberta, welcome. Quebec, Texas, Estonia, welcome. From the UK, awesome. Tel Aviv, welcome. Chicago, this is great. From Spain, excellent. New Jersey, welcome. Wisconsin, Italy, welcome. Oh, this is great. Hi from Poland, hello, welcome. From London, South Africa, Vancouver. Oh, we've got somebody here from Greece, welcome. From Seattle, awesome. Ithaca, welcome. Wow, we've got a lot of people from all over the world. This is great. Okay, welcome. This is wonderful. So I know Emma has put a lot of effort and thought into this presentation, and I'm super excited to hear it. So I'm going to hand it over to Emma.
There we go. Hi and welcome everybody. Listening to Mary's intros from everyone, we've got people from all over the world. That is so exciting. And I know Mary did the little housekeeping bit, but just for those of you who may not have heard, I'm just going to check what she wrote here. Please ask your questions in the Q&A box, and I'm also going to be asking for your thoughts and comments as we go. You can put that in the chat box, and that pops up when you move your mouse or if you touch your mobile phone screen, and then you'll see a black thing that comes up and you can click on chat box or Q&A. And we love to hear from you. Okay, so before I get started, I know that COVID-19 is on everyone's minds at the moment. It seems that everything seems to have COVID-19 at the front. And there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and that can be really scary. And I know I've had moments of anxiety and fear as well. This webinar was created and scheduled before the crisis hit. And while some of the content might not be relevant right now, we know that people need support and connection more than ever. So we decided to go ahead with the webinar anyway. And if all the people joining from all around the world is anything to go by, I hope that was the right decision. So some of the strategies I suggest in this webinar are not possible at the moment. For example, meeting in person. Obviously, that's going to have to wait until after the COVID crisis is over. And I hope you'll bear with me. However, there are many things that we can do in the meantime to support and organize our coaching businesses. I hope everyone stays safe, is practicing social distancing, and is taking care of themselves. So, okay, I'm just going to take this bracelet off. It's banging against things. Time to get started. So a big welcome to everyone who has joined the session live today and to everyone who's listening to the recording. As you know, I'm Emma-Louise Elsey. When I first came across life coaching in 2003, I had no idea that I would soon live halfway around the world, that I would move to a cottage on a small island with 5 acres, or that I would be running an online business from home. That is the power of coaching and living your best life. We've just celebrated 11 years with the Coaching Tools Company, which I know is how many of you know me. And I've been in beautiful Canada for 16 years this year. And I am truly grateful to live a life I love. So with me today, as you've already met, is Mary Turcott. She's the operations manager for the Coaching Tools Company, my right-hand woman. And she's helping me today with everything, really, from questions to admin and technology. We both live on Salt Spring, a small island just off the west coast of Canada. And okay, and just to let you know at the end, I have 3 very quick questions to get some feedback from you. And I hope you'll stay and answer those. Okay, are we ready? I'm going to hit the next slide. Okay, so what does it really take to grow a successful coaching business? I'm so excited to talk to you today and just more than a little overwhelmed by the positive response we've received to this topic. We had over 1,300 registrations. So we know this is a subject coaches are interested in. Now, I created this presentation to wrap up my 3 years as co-leader for the ICF's life coaching community of practice. I wanted to leave people with what I learned over the last 60 years of building a coaching business. So I really hope you enjoy it. Now, this is going to be a 3-part presentation. First, I'm going to talk a little about why building a coaching business is so hard. Then I'm going to talk briefly about the hero's journey. And this is a journey that each and every one of us is on in our coaching biz. And I'm also going to share my story, specifically the journey to get where I am today. And then thirdly, I'm going to share the 10 lessons that I've identified as necessary to grow a successful coaching business. And then, of course, I'm going to wrap up. Now, I hope that while I share some hard truths today, we're heading into a new decade, and I hope that today offers some inspiration and motivation for your coaching business. Also, I did have some fun with the PowerPoint slides since I was using it in a professional capacity probably 15, 20 years ago when I was in big business. PowerPoint has changed a lot, so I had a bit of fun with the slide transitions, and we have also allowed a lot of time for questions at the end. And if you have thoughts or comments as we go through, please do share these in the chat box, but I'll be answering questions at the end. Because if I'm honest, I still get a little bit nervous doing these big presentations, and it's nice just to have all the questions at the end so that I can stay calm and focused. Okay, here we go. So, how many of you, when you were starting out, thought that this was what your coaching business would look like? But this is how your days really feel. And if you've joined using the Zoom link, raise your hands. You can just move your mouse or tap your screen and you'll see a black menu pop up, and there should be an option to raise your hand. Click on the hand icon. Because when we started out on our journey as coaches, I don't think any of us realized what we were getting into. And by that, I mean, we didn't know that being a coach also means being an entrepreneur and all that's involved in running your business. And I was just going to see, that's a lot of people raising their hands. Okay, so you can really identify with this idea that we had this wonderful idea of how our coaching business would be, and then feels like one battle after another. Okay, so there's a good reason for this. I created this organization chart to help you literally see what I mean when I say it's hard to run a coaching business. I'll put my little pointer on here. I have this lovely laser pointer. You are not only the CEO of your business, you are in charge of operations, technology, finances, marketing and sales, as well as being a life coach or coach, And as part of that, you're doing your one-on-one coaching, running workshops, webinars, groups, and networking. And you're also developing all the products and services, as well as being your own secretary, doing email, phone, calendar, and meetings, and managing your professional development and more. Because I've got some things down here as well. So you're not only in charge of this top level stuff, which is the CEO and director level, setting the direction and making decisions. You're also in charge of the sort of overview, the management, which is this middle section here, and the overseeing. But then, as well as being direction and management, you're also in charge of all the doing. And look down here. It always amazes me how much time people spend on social media when it's such a small part of everything we need to do to grow a business. So I hope as you look at this organization chart, you can see that there is no way we could have truly understood what it actually means to run our own business. We were not prepared for the sheer number of responsibilities and activities, and our coaching schools certainly didn't prepare us. Sadly, there's no real way around all this work that needs to be done, because most of it can't just be delegated, at least not in the beginning. So no wonder running our own business is so stressful. And it's no wonder we always feel so overwhelmed. So if it feels hard to get your coaching business off the ground and find clients, it really is. It's not your imagination, and it's certainly not you. There is a lot to do, there's a lot to learn, and even if you have a business background, as I did, it's still incredibly hard. So I'm going to pause for a moment and let this sink in. And if you have any thoughts or comments so far, you could type them in the chat box, and perhaps you could share a couple, Mary.
Okay, I've got one here. I always have felt like I'm doing something wrong. Is one of the comments.
Yeah.
I get so tired sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one is from Bill. It's very overwhelming. Another one, I haven't thought of it like that before. Another one is validation.
Yeah.
Oh,
and that's really, oh, sorry, Mary, that's why I really wanted to create this slide, was just to validate there's a very good reason why you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed.
Another one here that I think is really nice is somebody's surprised by what you said about social media. There seems to be such a big emphasis on getting the word out.
Yeah, I think social media, and I was trying to stay away from questions, that's not a question. I think social media is a great way to get the word out, but I think we place a disproportionate amount of time spending time on social media when there's a lot of other things we can do to grow our business, and a lot of other ways we can get the word out as well.
Phil says, this is brilliant. The visual is helpful.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to keep going here. Next slide. Oh, what have I done? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the hero's journey, and thank you, Mary, for that. The hero's journey is a universal pattern that human lives seem to follow. It was popularized by Joseph Campbell in the 1980s, and you'll see this pattern in many of the movies we love. The original Star Wars movie is a great example. And it goes something like this. So we have the hero. This is the hero here. The hero needs to go on a journey of some kind. They have something to achieve, and they have to go on a journey of some kind. And on this journey, they struggle to find their true selves, overcome temptation and difficulty to achieve their goals. Now, along this journey, they make a lot of mistakes and learn from them. They find mentors and allies. And at some point, they usually get deceived, sometimes more than once. They trust the wrong person and learn the really important skill of discernment. There are many trials and tribulations on this journey. And there's usually one big turning point where they almost give up. But the key thing is they don't. And eventually what happens is they return to their lives stronger and better than before with a treasure or elixir. So the hero's journey is about having a goal, finding power inside of ourselves, and using this to overcome external and internal challenges to achieve our goal. And this often includes a dark night of the soul where you doubt everything and almost give up. But by the end, you have new skills and talents, which is your treasure or elixir to share with the world. And I'm wondering if this sounds at all familiar. So next, as I tell my story of growing my coaching business, I hope that you'll see this story playing out. And importantly, I hope you'll also think about where you might be on your coaching journey. Okay, so my background is actually in technology, project and relationship management. I graduated in 1994, last century, I was going to say last decade, last 2 decades ago, with a bachelor's degree in business and information technology. And when I discovered coaching in early 2003, I was unhappy in my job, and I'd been looking for a new career for about 18 months. Now, I retrained as a life coach and left my successful, well-paying job, moved to Canada from England, you probably noticed from the accent, with my husband in 2004. That's when we moved to Canada. And then I launched my coaching business, Simplicity Life Coaching, in early 2005. Now, I struggled a lot. I thought it would be easy to run a coaching business. After all, I had run projects with $1 million annual budgets and a matrix managed 40 plus people. But despite my business and project management background, I struggled to get clients and grow my business. And over time, as I tried to get to grips with running my business, my confidence literally withered. I felt overwhelmed, disappointed, embarrassed, and confused. Because working for myself was supposed to be wonderful. I get to be my own boss. I'm helping people. So why am I unhappy? And I also worked hard, so very hard to grow my business. I made a lot of mistakes, and it's probably the most humbling experience I have ever had. Over the last 16 years, I've learned more about running a business than I would have thought possible. In fact, I struggled with all the same things that I see coaches struggling with today. So that's branding, building a website, deciding what to put on the website, how to price my services, where to market myself, running workshops and public speaking, overcoming fear, confidently asking someone to sign up with me, figuring out my niche, finding clients, and learning to navigate the world of social media, which is just to name a few of the things that I struggled with. And what happened was I began to suffer from anxiety, which worsened over time. And I remember initially I didn't even know what it was. I just had this terrible sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach that really felt like dread. And then 3 years in, just as my life coach business was taking off, I knew who my target market were. I'd got the hang of getting clients. My husband and I decided to take living our values one step further. So we bought a small cottage on 5 acres and we moved to a rural island. And this is where my coaching career number 2 comes in. I knew my ideal clients were not living on Salt Spring Island. Women in technology, law, and finance. There's no big business here. So after some encouragement from fellow coaches, I decided to start an online business selling all the coaching all the coaching forms and tools I had created over the last few years. So now I became an online entrepreneur. Now, I thought it would be easy to sell online, but the more I learned, the more I realized there was to learn. I had to learn how to create a website that's easy for people to use, writing a blog and newsletter, finding and managing guest authors, dealing with search engine optimization, SEO, which is how to get people to your site in the first place, and so much more. I worked long hours and I actually got more and more anxious. So then let's add to that. About 3 years into our move to Salt Spring, I got very sick. I was in hospital for a week after emergency surgery to remove a large cyst and a few other things. And after this health incident, I almost gave up. In fact, while I was recuperating, I seriously considered getting a job on the local ferries. But somehow I kept going. And then when a family emergency hit 2 years later and my husband moved back to England for 18 months, I was finding myself supporting 2 households. So in the beginning, with Simplicity Life Coaching, Duncan had supported me financially. He had a job in Vancouver, but we downsized when we moved to Salt Spring Island, and Duncan had quit this job. So this was a very scary time for me, and it really helped me get super focused on my coaching tools business. And this is when the coaching tools company really began to take off. Okay, so there's another element here. I've already mentioned the anxiety. Well, to go back in time a bit, in 2009, just after we moved to Salt Spring Island, I found a great counselor, and I began working on myself in a new way. And very slowly, the anxiety began to improve. What I learned was that I had this super abusive critic, and that underneath this critic was a very frightened part of me. And this terrified little me had learned to survive by being totally super in control. I would yell at myself internally as a way to make sure that I worked hard, got everything done, that I didn't make mistakes, and didn't upset anyone. I learned that this is what created my anxiety. And the new way I was learning to be with myself was being fiercely kind to myself, to pay attention to my feelings instead of ignoring them. And this is what reduced my anxiety slowly over time. And this leads to coaching career number 3, a new website called Fierce Kindness, a practical self-help website which is grounded in courage and kindness. And the goal is to help people connect with who they truly are and build a life with meaning and purpose. So, what I wanted to share here was an example of how a coaching career can evolve. I hope that you can see that where I've ended up is a direct result of all my experiences up to this point. So if we look at coaching career number 1, that's Simplicity Life Coaching. I was a life coach to professional women in technology, law, and finance. It was my experience in technology, as well as law and accounting through family members, that helped me choose who to serve, and my love of systems from my project management days that led me to create lots of forms and tools. Coaching career number 2 is the coaching tools company. So I had previously learned to run a business, and I'd created lots of forms and tools. And this part was all about running an online business. So then if we add in this experience of anxiety down here, which is very important to where I've come to, this anxiety came from running a coaching business and bottling up feelings and emotions from a young child. So when you add in all the self-work that I did, the journaling and counseling, we now have coaching career number 3, Fierce Kindness, which is where I share my hard-won knowledge, the elixir that I bring back from my hero's journey, the hard-won knowledge about the importance of connection and feelings, and specifically being kinder and more courageous in our lives. So, my life experience, self-work, original life coaching business, and then running an online business have combined to create this brand new business that I'm extremely passionate about. So the reason I shared my story and the hero's journey is so that I can ask you this question. What if every day this is what's really happening? And by this, I mean, yes, you're battling every day. But as you fight your battles, you are learning to tame your dragon. Your dragon is your fears, your lack of knowledge, your inexperience, and your limiting beliefs, and more. But once your dragon is tamed, you get access to this castle here, and you discover your unicorn. The castle is your solid coaching business, and the unicorn is your unique offering and services. So whilst it may feel on a daily basis like just one battle after another, I want you to remember that you're also battling to find your unique unicorn who is just waiting for you. This unicorn, in case you hadn't figured it out, is the treasure or elixir that you'll bring home from your hero's journey. Your unique self, a unique business or niche that works for you and that aligns with your strengths, talents, and life experiences. So I want you to remember there is always a bigger picture. So what does this mean for you? What have you taken away from this session so far? It's time for a quick breather. I'd love you to type into the chat box what you have taken away so far. And while you're doing that, just to sum up, I've shared a quick overview of this is my last 16 years and the 3 main paths that my career has taken. Each journey has been hugely challenging and stretched me. And in case you were wondering, it did not get any easier. Each new business direction presented its own unique challenges. And even for fierce kindness, I have been confronting my deepest fears and limiting beliefs about myself, and I still am. I'm having to walk my talk yet again to overcome my limiting beliefs and get where I want to be. As are each of you. Each of you is on a challenging, extremely challenging journey. So, Mary, when you're ready, perhaps you can share a few thoughts and comments from people.
All right, we've got some great comments here. So Rebecca's feeling hope, that her journey is not unusual and that there is hope.
Yes.
Karen is feeling not alone, which is great. We've got, it's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Claudia says, I'm not a failure. It's great. We've got another one here. I can relate to the journey.
Great. Okay, so let's roll on here. We're on to part 3. And one of the lessons I'm still learning is to do less. So one of the things I realized when I got to this point was this webinar probably could have ended right here, but I do hope you'll stay with me as I share 10 big lessons I learned about growing a business, coaching business along the way. Now, with these lessons, not every coach will have all of these challenges. And some of these challenges will be huge for some people and small for others. These lessons sum up what I've learned personally over the last 16 years. In 11 years of running the Coaching Tools company, which is really a company where I serve coaches and I get to hear what struggles they have. In 3 years as co-leader for the life coaching community of practice for the ICF. And finally, 2 very intense years running the Coaches Helping Coaches Facebook group. So this is a sum of all of that. Now, these lessons are tough, but I hope they're also uplifting, fiercely kind, perhaps. And I'll admit to being a little nervous about sharing these, but these are also my truths. So let's plow ahead and see what you think. So number 1, facing reality. You're not just a coach, you run a coaching business. Now, when we start out as a coach, we are brimming with enthusiasm about coaching and going out on our own, which is quickly followed by overwhelm as we realize what we've got into. So that's thinking back to that organization chart I shared earlier. There is so much to get to grips with, and you're going to be spending a lot of time learning how to run a business. And I see so many coaches in denial. They find much of the work of running a business distasteful or just too much. But the problem is, however much you might wish it otherwise, this is what you've got. Fighting the reality of the situation will only make you stressed and unhappy, and also waste a lot of your energy and time. So the solution here really is to face reality, to work hard, be determined, and persevere. To accept that you're an entrepreneur and all that entails. Because to succeed, you're going to have to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. And a big question for you, are you prepared to do that? You learn to be a coach, but are you willing to do what it takes to grow a coaching business? So lesson number 2, embracing sales and marketing. By far the biggest problem that new and established coaches, it's not just new coaches that struggle with this, is to have not enough clients. This is because marketing a coaching business is harder than your average small business. And there are many reasons for this, including the fact that coaching is not a necessity in people's lives. It's what we call discretionary spending. Add that our services have a fairly high price point. We're asking people to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another reason is that coaching is not clearly understood in our world. And I wanted to give you some examples to compare coaching against. If we ran a jewelry business, well, people fall in love with beautiful things. It's clear what you offer, and people buy on impulse or as gifts. If you ran a cupcake business, it's super clear what you offer, and it's yummy, and the price point is low. A massage therapist will have an easier time marketing themselves because people know what it is, it's enjoyable, and there's no commitment or work involved from the client, unlike coaching. So as coaches, we really have to understand marketing and sales. One of the biggest reasons that I see for a lack of clients is not understanding marketing and how to market ourselves, and not knowing how to make or confidently ask for the sale. Too many coaches avoid what makes them uncomfortable or what they find distasteful, and they don't do the activities that actually lead to clients. Sales and marketing are not dirty words because you get to choose what actions you take and what actions you don't take. Yes, you will absolutely feel uncomfortable at times. I still do sometimes. But you can be uncomfortable and learn to make sales, or you can be financially uncomfortable. You get to choose. So we need to stop following shiny things and quick fix promises made by business coaches online and get to grips with the basics of marketing and sales. And then keep learning what works for you. Who do you serve? How and where do you find them? What do you offer? What problems do you solve for your clients? And does your website and marketing messages make this obvious? And how will you make that connection with potential clients and stay in touch with them so it's you they call when they're finally ready for coaching? And I'm going to come back to that one in a bit. There aren't any shortcuts. This information is hard-won and it takes time. So you must learn everything you can about sales and marketing. And there is so much free information online, on blogs alone. Read books, take an online course or an in-person course, get a great business coach, visit successful coaches' websites and learn. It doesn't need to be expensive. You can learn a lot cheaply or free, but do get paid help if you need it. So lesson number 3, get yourself organized. I see so many unorganized coaches. Without systems and processes, we look unprofessional and we get stressed and frustrated. Perhaps you're wasting time recreating stuff, looking for things and generally reinventing the wheel. Perhaps you let important stuff become urgent and stressful. You miss deadlines for that article you said you'd write, or your taxes, or recording coaching hours, or invoicing clients. And perhaps you're always running late, which makes you look less professional and feel less confident in front of your clients and prospects. As entrepreneurs, we already have so much to do. So anything you can do to run your business like clockwork will save you time, keep your stress levels down, and keep you looking professional. So allow time to set up and create processes, file things properly, and with all this technology, automate what you can. Things you can put processes around or automate include your finances, appointment management and booking, client enrollment and wrap-up processes, your marketing, especially social media, much of which can actually be set up in advance. So make time to automate and create repeatable systems, templates, and processes for the things you do over and over again. It's not exciting work, but it really helps. And be prepared to improve these systems over time. So one of the things I did was I created a one-page checklist for what to cover with my clients in my intake sessions because I was always forgetting something. And in the beginning, I tweaked it after every session to improve it. Okay. So it's also about getting focused. Overwhelm is a big issue for all solopreneurs. So you must make the time to plan and, importantly, to prioritize. To fail to plan is to plan to fail. I'm sure you've heard that. Now, I still struggle with this a little bit because I'm a natural planner and I love making lists, but When I come into my office in the morning, I just want to get doing. I don't want to spend time looking at my goals, prioritizing and making a list of action steps, as Mary well knows. I want to be getting on with things. But by not setting goals and prioritizing, we make it easy to procrastinate and we tend to focus on the wrong things. When we don't prioritize, we actually tend to avoid doing the difficult things. And instead we do what is easy. And then the most important things don't get done. This is what contributes to our feeling of overwhelm, stress, and feeling scattered. We procrastinate and we beat ourselves up. So it's extremely important to set goals, prioritize, and make action plans regularly. Set annual, quarterly, and monthly goals, and then make the time to prioritize an action plan monthly, weekly, and daily. I have a daily meeting every morning with Mary and my husband who does our technology. And it's essential for us being focused every day and making sure we get the most important stuff done. And if you struggle with this, find yourself a good business coach. Bruce Lee said, "The successful warrior is the average person with laser-like focus." That could be you. Okay, so just time for a quick breather, Mary. I wonder if there's any comments or thoughts so far on the lessons.
All right. Yes, I've got a comment here from Melody. Great reality check. From Kimberly, I love this. I run a coaching business.
Okay.
Another one is the visual organizational chart, again, is terrific, and as are all of the slides. Thanks very much for the wisdom and for sharing.
Awesome. Okay. So I will plow on. So number 4, this is one of my favorite, one of the biggest lessons and one of the favorite ones. It's important to build and maintain your relationships. Coaching is a relationships business. Our clients need to trust us before they hire us. And there are 2 key kinds of relationships you need to build. One, obviously with potential clients. And the other is people who have relationships with your potential clients. These are your potential referrers. Because a personal referral is still one of the best ways to get clients. So why is maintaining your relationships so important? Everyone is so busy these days. You meet someone one day and you're forgotten the next. So once you've made a connection with someone, you must have a way to maintain it. I lost count long ago of the number of people who said some variation of, "I need to hire you." But when I followed up, nothing happened. Now, I'm sure this has happened to many of you. And yes, sometimes people are just being polite. But even when they mean it, there's often a huge time gap between someone saying they want to hire you and following through. It might be 6 months, a year, 18 months, or 3 years before someone is actually ready to hire a coach. So the big question is, how do you make sure it's you they hire when they're finally ready? Well, you do it by being the first person they think of because you stayed in touch. Now, I see a lot of coaches trying to build their businesses purely online without going into the world and meeting anyone in person. Now, this can work, especially with video. We've got webinars, YouTube, Facebook Lives these days. But it's going to take longer to build trust through a screen. Instead, I recommend getting out and meeting people in person, to go regularly to where your ideal clients hang out, whether it's a club, networking group, the gym, a volunteer organization, or something else. And then once you've made a genuine connection, be sure to have a way to maintain that connection. Now, some examples, and I thought I'd put some examples in to help you here. So one is ask their permission to add them to your newsletter list. You could send a newsletter as infrequently as monthly. Invite them to your Facebook group. Tell them about your regular podcast. Meet a good referrer for coffee or a glass of wine at least annually. Run some kind of regular meetup for your target market, in person or online. I ran a book club, I called it the social book club, and I co-led this group with another coach, and we would do a summary of a personal development book and then get the group to discuss the book amongst themselves over a glass of wine. It was fabulous, and it was fun too. Send birthday and or holiday cards to past clients and good referrers. And an example here is, even though I'm not really coaching anymore, I recently had a client come back after 12 years of sending Christmas cards. A couple more: hosting a regular Facebook Live for your Facebook group or a webinar like this. And be active on social media, but not just posting. Share some of who you are, as well as commenting and responding to comments with your connections. So as you'll see, there are many ways to maintain relationships with clients, potential clients, referrers, and potential referrers. Relationships are essential to your business. And remember that whilst it may be more effort for you, trust is easier and faster to build in person. However, once you have that connection, you can maintain those relationships online. And finally, do find ways to cherish your sources of referrals, especially if they send you repeat business. Okay. Keep coaching no matter what. So many coaches struggle with imposter syndrome or feeling like a fraud. And I know I did. After months of struggling to get clients, we begin to doubt ourselves. Losing confidence in our coaching skills leads to being nervous during coaching sessions, and this does not instill confidence in our potential clients. Simone Biles, a young Olympic gymnast and gold medalist, said, "Practice creates confidence. Confidence empowers you." So when we keep coaching, we become a better and better coach. We learn the areas we're good, and we learn the areas we'd like to improve. We make mistakes and we learn from them. Coaching is, after all, it's a craft. It's a skill set, which means we must practice and put the hours in. Not only that, through coaching as many clients as possible, we learn a lot about the process of coaching. Things like how to get started with a new client, how to deal with payment, how to deal with non-payment, how to change a session time, how to wrap up with a client and ask for testimonials. By keeping coaching no matter what, you'll keep building your skills, your experience, and you'll also learn who you like coaching and who you don't, which means that keeping coaching also helps you find your tribe and your niche. So the answer is to coach as much as you can, any way you can, whoever you can. And if you can't get paying clients, coach people for free or cheaply, because every coaching session teaches you something. Lesson number 6, keep growing you. This is one of the most surprising mistakes I see. Coaching is a self-development industry, and to be authentic as coaches, we must walk our talk. If you don't grow yourself and keep learning, you're not serving your clients as well as you could. And it's as we learn about ourselves that we discover what our own unique life experience has taught us. We must work on ourselves to overcome our limiting beliefs, to wrangle our inner critic, and embrace our shadow. And as we tame our dragon, we will discover our unicorn. It's as you grow yourself that you will find your unique contribution to the world, as I did with Fierce Kindness. And it's with working on your edges that you begin to develop your own unique coaching tools, processes, and ideas. So work on you. Keep growing you. Journal, meditate, read personal development books, hire yourself a counselor or your own life coach, get some training. But whatever you do, keep growing. Lesson number 7, make mistakes. I deliberately put a smile on this little chap here. I see coaches agonizing over what to charge, what copy to put on the homepage, what's my niche. But if there's one big thing I've learned personally, is that all this matters much less than you think. You'll probably change pretty much everything several times before you're done. Now, obviously, you want to spend some time thinking about these things, but if you find you're charging too little, you can put your rates up. If you find you're charging too much, you can put your rates back down. You can update your about page and make it better later. And while you obviously don't want spelling mistakes on your homepage, even that is fixable. It's not the end of the world. Now, most things can be updated and corrected as you go. And if your niche changes because you've got clearer about who you serve, and it probably will, that's a really great problem to have. The same goes for getting clients. Be bold, be brave. So you try a technique or question at the end of a sample session and you mess it up, or they say no, or it falls flat. You learn. And for your coaching too, try something new. Experiment with silence or using a meditation. Mistakes are how we learn. A year or more from now, none of this will matter, and eventually it all just becomes a good story. Louise Hay said, "Every experience is a success." And this is a fabulous belief to carry with you. As coaches and entrepreneurs, there is so much to get to grips with, and there is no way you can get it all right first time. And if you try, you're going to waste an awful lot of energy and create an awful lot of unnecessary stress. Plus, you won't get the benefit of glorious feedback and the opportunity to improve. So keep making mistakes and learning. And as Nike said, just do it, but then learn, recalibrate, and try again. Okay, lesson number 8, a slightly more challenging lesson, this one. Be financially responsible. It can take 12 months just to get your business up and running, and as much as 24 to 36 months to get that business off the ground and making enough money to get by on. At least that's how long it took me. Now, when we feel financially threatened, which is not making enough money to live off, it adds a lot of additional stress. And when we're stressed and worried, it impacts our health, our relationships, and we tend to make poor decisions. Desperation can come across in our interactions with clients, which isn't going to make them want to sign up with us. And when we're worried about money, we are more likely to judge and blame ourselves. This stress and pressure is bad for our health and our business. So here's the toughie. Doing work you love is not a human right. If you're not making enough money, magical thinking is not going to help you. So please be financially responsible. Keep track of your finances. If you have to, get a part-time job, do some consulting work in your previous field, get a full-time job and build your business on the side. This is not failure, it's self-care. I was extremely lucky that my husband supported me while I grew my first life coaching business, and then that we had a house we could downsize from as I grew the coaching tools company. But that doesn't mean we didn't have many conversations about what I was doing, where it was going, and when I might choose something else if this didn't work out. I was incredibly lucky to have these financial supports. And not everyone is as lucky as that, as lucky as I am. So I really implore you to be financially responsible. Don't stick your head in the sand. Keep an eye on your finances and take action ahead of time to find another way to bring in money if you need to. Okay, number 9, build a support network. Most of us work alone, and it's in our isolation that we think I'm the only one going through this. I hope you're realizing this is not the case. It is tough to build a coaching business. It's when we're alone that we lose our courage to do the hard things. We have no one to hold us accountable and no one to give us a boost when we're feeling disillusioned or we feel foolish because we've made a mistake and we feel like giving up. I also recommend you have many layers of support. A special coaching buddy, a Facebook group, your local ICF chapter, a small business mastermind group, a business coach, and more. There are plenty of online forums and Facebook and LinkedIn groups. I started the Coaches Helping Coaches Facebook group for this very reason. But nothing beats meeting in a small group, and this can be in person or video conferencing, where you build relationships over time, where you share and support challenges and successes, where you can get accountability or encouragement to take a bigger step. Plus, you may find someone you can do work trades with. You like organizing and they're good at social media. There may be joint ventures or opportunities to work together, and so much more. So make the effort to consciously build a multi-layered support network that meets all of your diverse needs. Checking time here. Lesson number 10. Be patient, courageous, and fiercely kind. So rounding out my 10 lessons is this one: how to be with yourself. Probably the biggest issue that affects coaches is unrealistic expectations about how long it takes to create a successful coaching business. No matter what 6, 7, and 8-figure wow coaches and internet gurus say, it's likely to take you much longer than you think to get your business humming along. So patience is vital. In my experience with years of project management as a coach and as a business owner, pretty much everything takes longer than you expect because you don't know what you don't know. So be patient. Bill Gates said that most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And I can only sincerely agree. Now, when we lose patience, we feel disappointment, frustration, sometimes anger, and usually self-judgment and blame. These feelings are all normal. But if we're patient, we can work to not letting them take over. Remember the hero's journey. There are challenges to overcome. There's going to be a dark night of the soul when we contemplate giving up. And that's where courage comes in. I cannot stress enough the importance of courage as we grow our businesses. Courageously holding on to and taking steps towards your vision, that castle and unicorn that is your unique and successful business, is perhaps just a little bit further than you originally thought. And finally, this journey we're all on is hard on every level. So you absolutely must learn to be kind to yourself. Kind as you take risks, as you make mistakes and you grow. Your critic is going to have plenty of opportunities to find fault with your coaching, your time management, your business management, how you ran the webinar, and more. You also need to be kind and gentle with yourself to maintain balance and not burn out. Compassion and kindness are being hugely studied right now. And neuroscience shows us that when we're compassionate, our courage grows. Empathy, understanding, and being willing to be with ourselves in difficulty actually increases our courage. Not only that, but kindness also makes the world a better place. But not just any kindness. I'm talking about a fierce kindness that does the right thing. Fierce kindness that takes care of both us and our critic, because our critic is really just that scared part of us. Fierce kindness that learns how to set boundaries with others and ourselves. And fierce kindness that knows the difference between when to push ourselves that little bit harder to get something done and when to say, okay, it's time to stop now. Fierce kindness is an intelligent kindness that does the right thing for ourselves and others and not just what is easy. So lesson 10 is all about how to be with yourself. Be patient, be courageous, and be fiercely kind. So, your hero's journey. You are on a very special quest, a journey to discover who you are and uncover the unique business that works for you. Running your own business is hard, and running a coaching business is harder. When it comes to coaching business success, a few people are just plain lucky. Fewer people are whizzes at marketing and just seem to know exactly how to get clients. And there's a minuscule number of coaches who just happen to know lots of people with lots of money who want coaching. But the chances are that's not you. Not all of you will make it as an entrepreneur, and that's okay. Those people who don't make it will take their coaching skills into other areas of their lives and into the world in new ways. And our world desperately needs that too. So I believe coaches are heroes on a huge journey. We have to fight many battles, make mistakes, and learn. We have to tame the dragon of our fears and our limiting beliefs. We have to work harder than we ever thought possible to grow ourselves, our coaching skills, and our businesses. And only then will we get to enjoy the castle of a solid coaching business and uncover the unicorn of our strengths and unique gifts, creating a life and business that works for you. I believe coaches can make a difference and make a living. But we need to adjust our expectations about what it takes and how long it takes. And you may not end up with the business you expect. I know I haven't. And remember that while you'll battle many external challenges, the biggest dragon we all have to deal with is ourselves. So if you take just one thing away from this presentation, I'd like you to remember that whatever form your life and career eventually takes, this world, it needs you. The world needs people committed to helping others get out there and do their thing. And I'd love for that to be you. So, as we wrap up, I'd like you to consider, where is it that you need to grow? What is your growing edge in building your coaching business? What truths do you need to face? Thinking about the 10 lessons I've shared today, maybe you're great at coaching, but you don't have enough clients because you've been avoiding asking for the sale or following up with people. Maybe you've got the clients, but you're missing appointments and deadlines and constantly struggling to find paperwork. Maybe you're working really hard all the time, but you're not getting the big important projects done and you need to set some goals and work on your priorities first. And maybe you're struggling financially and you need to get a part-time job or consider how else you can use your coaching skills to bring money. So I wonder what one action you might take as a result of this webinar today. And to help you, I've created a handout with a wheel for you to score yourselves on and help you decide. So on the one side of the handout, we've got the 10 lessons, and on the other side is a wheel and an exercise where you get to choose an action. So you just need to go to thecoachingtoolscompany.com/10 lessons. That's the number 10 lessons. And of course, free stuff. I love free stuff. So while you get typing your questions, because that's what's coming up next, and you can ask me anything related to my journey or growing your coaching biz, here's some free stuff to think about. And you can do any or all of these. So getting your 10 lesson summary handout and exercise. And actually on that page is also, I also put the slides here. So there's all the slides ready and waiting for you at that page, thecoachingtoolscompany.com/10 lessons. I'd also love you to sign up for the Coaching Tools Company newsletter if you haven't already. It's a weekly inspirational newsletter. We cover lots of topics. And I'd also be really, I'd just love it if you would sign up for Fierce Kindness to receive, and you'll receive a personal goal setting workbook for 2020. Because it's never too late to set goals. And this is my passion. And I just wanted to show you that here. I'm very proud of it. It's our most comprehensive workbook to date, and it's free for 2020. And I also added a monthly action planner that you might even be able to use in your coaching business. So I added that. That's over at fiercekindness.com. Okay, so now it's time for your questions and comments, and I'd love you to type into the Q&A box this time. Here we go. Ask me anything.
Okay, I've got a few questions here.
Okay.
I'm going to start with this one here. What mistakes have you made in growing your business?
Oh, wow. So I have made a lot of mistakes. The biggest ones are spending a lot of time on things that haven't gone anywhere financially, or I realized afterwards it just weren't me. I have a website that I spent an awful lot of time on. I launched it in, I think it was 2009. And after a year or so, I realized it really just wasn't me. It wasn't where I wanted my business to go. It's still there. It's looking pretty dated now because I don't know what to do with it. It's called rebelwomencafe.com. Put a lot of effort into that and it's never gone anywhere. I also ran a networking group for women, for small business owners. There was a small website. I got in guest speakers. I even ran a little market evening where people got to sell stuff, but it wasn't my target market. I made good friends, but I put so much energy and effort into that, and these people were not my target market. So that's a couple. They're big ones, actually, that took up a lot of time and didn't really lead anywhere. But I did get some great learnings from it. So that's what it's all about.
Okay, great. We have another one here from Linda. She says, I've heard websites are becoming obsolete. What is replacing them as a way to market our services? So what do you think of that?
I have not heard that. I'm not sure that websites are becoming obsolete. For me, depending on what kind of business you run, but if you're a coach, your website is like an online business card. And when you meet someone, the first thing they'll do is, if they're vaguely interested in you, is they'll look at your website to check you out and see who you are. I can't think what would be replacing websites. There's extra things you can do, like running a podcast, and there's social media, but your website is your stake in the ground. It's like your virtual, I mean, as coaches, because many of us work remotely, it's like your store. It's like your shop front. It's where people go to learn about you. And I can't think where else they do that. So I'm not sure I agree with that. I think your websites are going to be around for some time yet. That's my thoughts anyway.
All right. We've got another good one here from Lucy. To get clients, does one need to combine coaching with training events?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, Lucy. Coaching with training events. As part of getting clients, I did a lot of networking. I met a lot of people. I ran a newsletter. I started a monthly newsletter, which I created in Word, and then I saved as a PDF, and I manually emailed it out monthly. I also, so this might be what you mean by training events. I also ran workshops. So I ran workshops where I would use a tool and I would share some concepts and ideas. So, for example, I did a life balance workshop, a goal setting workshop, and I would share some ideas and thoughts, and then I would get people working together in groups and completing worksheets. And then at the end of that workshop, I would give them a feedback form, a workshop feedback form. And on that feedback form, I would have 3 boxes, and it said, I would love to get your newsletter, tick, put your email here. I would love a sample session with you, put your phone number here. Maybe it was just 2 boxes. That feedback form is actually a free tool on our website. And that is how I built my newsletter list. This is before all these online newsletter services like MailChimp and Constant Contact were even in existence. So I got a lot of sample sessions and built my list and positioned myself as an expert by running what you could call training events. But those workshops were often 45 minutes, an hour and a half long. Just a little taster of coaching, get them excited, filling out a form for me at the end, building my list. I hope that answers your question. So there are many ways to get clients. Training. You could, and if you literally did mean training, I think if you run some training with a coach approach, let them know you're a coach, and at the end have a feedback form, and again offer a sample session, that could be a way to get clients for sure.
Okay. So another question from Claudia is, how do I get past my fear and just get out there?
There is no easy answer to this, Claudia. You just have to do it. I still get nervous running presentations. This morning I was nervous. I had a headache because my shoulder had been sleeping funny. We just have to do it. It can be hard. I know I get a constriction in my throat. I get a dread feeling in my stomach. And it's just pushing through. It's important to do it kindly as well. If you're really, really nervous, it can help to think about the things that could go wrong and have a backup plan. So, and some of that could be, well, what happens if I stumble over my words or I get tongue-tied? Well, your backup plan can be, okay, take a deep breath and have a phrase that you say to yourself, like, you can do it, I can do this. And remember that people don't want you to fail, they want you to do well. So yeah, I really think it's about getting through. Think about the things that make you most nervous. You could make a list and make an action plan, like have a backup plan, like what you'll do if each of them happens. And especially if each of them happens, that's where the fierce kindness comes in. We make mistakes, and you're going to make mistakes. I made a number of mistakes during the presentation. You may or may not have noticed. I just my critic starts, and I'm just take a deep breath and keep going. And think about, another thing to do is to think about how you're going to feel when it's done. So instead of thinking about all the things that could go wrong, which is often where the nervousness comes from, think about how you're going to feel when you've done it, how proud you're going to be of yourself. And the other thing is, the first time you do it is going to be a lot harder than the next time and the next time. So each time you do it, you're going to learn something and it gets easier. But there really is no way around just leaping in and doing it. I know a couple times when I was particularly nervous, especially when doing presentations, I would get up to the front of the room and say, look, I'm super nervous and I'm doing this anyway. And a couple times I think I even got a couple of cheers. So being real, being honest with people and being real can be another way of getting people's support behind you when you're nervous. I hope that helps and gives you some ideas.
All right, we've got a question here. Do you think having a credential as a coach helps?
So this is a very multi-layered question and answer. I think if you are going to be a coach who goes into organizations, I think organizations look for credentials, something that proves that you are who you are, that you are who you say you are, and that you have a certain level of skill. And some organizations will look for specific credentials, and other ones would be happy if you just had a degree in psychology or something. So a coaching credential is, I would say, it's pretty important if you're planning on being an executive coach, a team coach, and a coach going into organizations. It's less important to the client, and that's where I say it's a multi-layered thing. It's less important to the client if you're doing life coaching. I have never had a client ask me if I have a credential. They've asked me if I'm trained, where I trained, how long I trained for, but they've never asked me if I have a credential. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean that getting a coaching credential isn't a good thing to do. I think coaching is a fledgling profession. There's no governmental or world body for managing coaching that everyone adheres to. The ICF is probably the biggest. There's another one called the IAPC&M in the UK that is approved by the British Ombudsman. So that gives it some weight. So having a credential is good for the coaching profession. It does take work and effort to prove your hours, to keep up your continued education credits, and remembering to stay on top of everything you need to do to have your credential. It also costs money. Some people say that credentialing is just a money spinner for the people doing the credentialing. I think if you choose people like the ICF or the IAP C&M, and there's probably other ones as well, check out where you're getting your coaching credential from. So I think it's very important for the coaching profession, because I think it looks good to have letters after your name. It makes coaches be taken more seriously. I think it's essential if you want to go into corporations, and you can get away without it if you're a life coach. So I hope that's given some idea of I fully support credential coaches, and it's not necessary. I hope that helps.
Okay, I've got a question here. Is it necessary to have a niche?
This is another tough question, but I don't think it's necessary, but it makes your life a lot easier. When you have a niche, you're really clear on specifically who you help and how you help them. The more targeted your niche is, the easier it is to find clients. And the easier it is for a client to find you and think, that's the coach I need. So if you're a one-legged person who loves to ride bicycles, and you find a coach for people who are one-legged and ride bicycles, you're going to know that person's for you. So it certainly makes it easier for your marketing. It makes it easier for clients to recognize that you're a potential coach for them. And it makes it easier for you to go looking for your clients, because you know exactly who they are and how you help them super specifically. That being said, I mean, I was making a success of my coaching business at the end of 3 years without a specific niche. I did work and life balance and career coaching for women in technology, accounting and law. Was that technology, finance and law? So it wasn't a specific niche, but I knew who I served, and I knew I helped them with life balance and career coaching and finding inner peace. Although I didn't use that necessarily as an outward marketing thing, but I would say that when I would speak to people. So I think that's partly why it took me a little bit longer to find clients, because I didn't have a niche. So it's not necessary, but it certainly makes your life a lot easier.
Okay, great. Another question we've got from Amy. How did you utilize workshops? Did you offer them for free as a sales pipeline, or did you charge for those?
I did both. In the beginning, so one of the things I did, I don't know how many of you have heard of Lululemon. It's a yoga wear company. And I don't even remember how this came about. I think I was in Lululemon and I noticed that they had a thing up on the counter for a workshop. So I just talked to one of the girls there and I said, would you be interested in a goal setting workshop? So I did goal setting workshops because Lululemon had many stores. So I did goal setting workshops for Lululemon. So once I'd done one in the Vancouver Lululemon, I then contacted the one that was over in Kitts, a different part of Vancouver. And I did them for the Lululemon in, there was one on the North Shore, North Vancouver. And then when I moved to Salt Spring, I also did some workshops for Lululemon in Victoria. So once I'd done one, I got in and did them some more. And they were free, sorry. So those workshops were all free. They were an hour long. And the great thing about that was Lululemon promoted them to their list. So if you have someone who can bring your target market to you, then by all means do a workshop for free, because they are bringing potential clients to you. And I knew I had that workshop sheet at the end where they would fill out and maybe sign up for my newsletter or a sample session. I also did some free ones myself that I advertised. I put signs up in coffee shops and things, and also let my friends and asked them to let their friends know. I also did some paid workshops. So I did a bit of everything. There was also a women's conference called Every Woman in the World, and I did a free workshop for them for several years in a row. That was a conference for women keeping active. And they had, as well as all the activities like doing belly dancing and running and skipping or whatever, they also had some sort of mental, emotional, I don't know quite how to say it, but some softer skills. So I did a free workshops for them. Again, they brought my target market to me, so I did them for free. And I'm trying to think where else I did workshops. Networking groups, I would approach networking groups where my target market were. So there was a networking group for women in technology, there was a networking group for women in finance, and I would approach them and say, hey, I've got this great workshop on goal setting or confidence building. Are you interested? Because they're often looking for material because they've got a membership and they want to add value to their membership. But yes, I also did free ones and I did paid ones. I never did anything longer than a half day, other than I did something I called I did the goddess retreats with another coach. And we did these day-long retreats, which were paid, and those were fun too. All right, I'm going to stop talking now. I hope that's answered your question.
All right. Get another one here. Okay, what resources would you recommend coaches look for to learn marketing?
I mean, this sounds really stupid, but Google how to get clients or how to get clients for coaches. You'd be surprised what you can pick up just by Googling. It's amazing, especially if you put for coaches on the end. Someone called Christian Michelson, that's Christian and then Mickels, I think it's En. His marketing is quite intense, trying to get you to sign up with him, but you can get a lot for free. And I like his way of helping you do your sample sessions and figure out what it is that you offer. Some books. I'm just trying to see, do I have any books here I can share? I moved everything. I have to grab both from over here. Coaching at Work. Toolkit. Complete guide to building your coaching business. I'm now running away. See, now this is about making mistakes. I'm beating, here we go. That was the one I was looking for. This book here is called Getting Started in Personal and Executive Coaching. It's got lots of business tips in there. There's another one called The E-Myth. It's about helping you understand why it's so important to set up business processes. In terms of marketing, I just read anything and everything I could find. I did Google searches. I signed up for people who seemed interesting. There's Tad. There's someone who does something called Tad Hargrave. He does marketing for hippies. And the idea behind the hippies is these are people who want to help, but they're not very comfortable marketing themselves. So Google search, read. If you don't like what you're reading and you find it too pushy or you think it's, the marketing techniques are not good, then leave and find another one. Read books and try things out and ask people. That's another great marketing technique, actually. If you have fans and followers already, ask them on your social media, ask them what they need help with, because this is really what you need to know. You need to know your potential clients inside out. What are they struggling with? And how do you help them? What is it that they desire? What is it that they really want from life? And how do you help them do that? And then you need to communicate that to them through your website, your social media, when you meet them. What you're doing is really getting deeply into the issues and the goals your potential clients have, and finding and making sure you tell them how you sell that. So you can actually do that by testing out your phrases and the things that you offer with the audience that you have so far. I hope that helps.
Okay. So I think this one is about the inner critic. Which is the better mindset, slay or embrace? I guess the dragon.
Oh, slay the dragon. It's funny you should ask that. I really struggled with that because, a lot of the hero's journey and these stories talk about slaying the dragon and rescuing the princess. And the princess is this. So depending on what those things mean, the dragon can represent sort of society's limiting beliefs. And yes, you want to slay and get rid of society's beliefs that have been forced on you, these limiting beliefs that I shouldn't be big-headed, that I shouldn't ask for the sale, whatever it is that's getting in your way. We need to slay those beliefs But the dragon, if the dragon is your inner critic, that inner critic, it's angry and it's getting in your way and it's making life difficult for you, but it's doing that from a place of fear. It's trying to protect you. So if you murder it, you slay your dragon. Yeah, it seems a bit harsh. So what was the wording? It's funny you asked that. What was the wording I put was embrace. I think you need to make friends with your dragon. You need to see the truth of what it is you're believing and what's getting in the way, how you're holding yourself back, where the things that make you embarrassed and ashamed, the things in your shadow, like feeling inexperienced, not really knowing what you're doing, making a mistake. You need to be okay with that. You need to make friends with that. And then you don't need to slay it. That's why the last picture on the slide, let me just see here, I deliberately chose this one here. I chose a friendly dragon. He's not been slayed, he's been befriended. And now you don't need to fight him anymore. You can kind of work as a partnership and head towards the castle and unicorn right there. Okay, I hope that's answered that question.
All right. And another one here. Similar topic. How did you find your unicorn?
Over time. The unicorn is what are your unique strengths and talents? That's part of it. And I realized that I am brave even when I'm afraid. I do things that other people won't do. I'll speak up in meetings when everyone else is silent, even though my heart's hammering in my chest. I have this willpower. I don't know where it comes from. So that's the fierce in fierce kindness. And so my unicorn is a combination of everything. My experience, life experience so far. I mean, it could go back as far as when I was 14. My mum actually bought us a computer. It had 64K of memory, which is the size of a Word document these days. So learning technology, getting interested in technology, becoming a project manager in coding, and getting into systems and processes and enjoying recognizing something that happens over and over, like, oh, I'm enrolling a client every time, and I could just have a checklist to make this easy. I think because of my background and my experience, that has become a habit for me. So I created forms and tools, and I'm naturally organized, and I make lists and plan. It's my strengths, my planning, my courage, the fact that I love being kind. Even I can see when you see someone misbehaving and acting up and being difficult or unpleasant, whilst I don't agree with their behavior, I can instantly see why they might be doing that. So that's that fierce kindness, to be able to see both sides. So how you find your unique unicorn is getting to know yourself, looking at your experience and your past and things that have happened to you, but also the things you've learned, the skills you've learned along the way. And they all, at some point, they all come together. And you're like, yes, that's what I want to help people do. You know, it takes time. It takes exploring yourself. You can ask your friends, like, what do they like about you? What do they admire about you? What do you bring to the friendship? I mean, all these things and then suddenly you have this insight, like, this is who I serve and this is how I'll help them. So it's a combination of sort of like passive, allowing things to arise, actively figuring out who you are, your strengths, your experiences, your knowledge, what makes you unique, and then really thinking about how that can be put together as a package that becomes what you offer. Okay, I think that's the best I can answer that right now.
Okay, I've got another question for you. How do you find out who would be a good referrer?
I don't think you can find out until they actually do it. But okay, so there's a couple of things here. One is a good referrer is someone who has the same target market as you, but doesn't compete with you. So if you're a life coach, A hairdresser or a massage therapist could be a great referrer. If you are going into organizations and doing leadership training, it could be someone who goes in and does some other kind of training in those same organizations. So it's someone who works with your target market, or is friends with your target market. So that's the first step of finding a good referrer. And also I don't know how you would know this, maybe through conversation. Like, are they someone that says, oh yeah, you need a haircut, I know the perfect person to give you a haircut, or you need a massage, I know the perfect massage therapist. Or you say, oh, I'm really struggling to find the perfect winter coat, and they're like, oh yeah, it could be here. So someone that kind of has that kind of mindset of matching people to things, that could be observed in a conversation. Another thing with referrers is to perhaps start by referring to them. So find someone that you admire, a great hairdresser, and refer people to them first before you even raise the subject of saying, hey, you know, if you ever have anyone interested in life balance, someone who's struggling with, see, I never came up with my niece, so I don't describe this very well. But if you, once you've referred to them a few times, next time you're getting a haircut, you can say, oh, by the way, I'm you know, if you ever have anyone that's interested in some life balance training or whatever it is that you do, you know, here's my card, feel free to send them my way. But that can work really well once you've sent a few people to them. So it's having that mutual, a mutual mindset. Does this person strike you as someone where there might be some mutuality? And I was just thinking, we actually have a free tool on our website under the free resources at thecoachingtoolscompany.com with a list of people that you could develop relationships with to, I don't think it's specifically for, oh, it is, it's to build that two-way relationship with, to find referrers. And it's got a list of different types of people. You can also add your own. So there's a place that you can go. Okay, Mary.
All right. I have another question.
Just got another 5 minutes here, so.
And just before we get to this question, an update about the links. We had a lot of people asking about the links to the slides and the handouts. They have been updated now, and you can get the slide deck now. It wasn't working before.
Okay.
But it's all set up. Should be working. I mean, let me know in the chat if it's not working for you. I've pasted the link again.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
So the question might be the last question. Any suggestions on resources that will help decide pricing?
Okay, so I did write an article on, this was on how to price your coaching program with lots of tips. So maybe, Mary, I don't know if you have time to go and grab that. It's about how I decided what to charge for my coaching program. That has a lot of the factors that I use to decide how to charge for a coaching program. I don't know of any resources. Lots of people have written articles about it. There are a lot of competing messages about how to price your coaching. I know when I left my coaching school, one of the messages I got was, well, think about how many clients you want to have and how many hours you want to work and just how much money you want to make, and just divide the two and that will give you the figure you want. I personally found that quite unhelpful. So you can change your pricing at any time. My belief, my thoughts on this are, if you start with a lower price point, it's easy to sell. It's easy for you to sell. If you start with a price point where you think, my God, that is amazing value for money, that's going to come across when you talk to people. So you're going to be confidently talking to people about your prices. Now, if that is a little on the low side and you're concerned that people might think you're too cheap, one of the things you can do is to say something like, I am doing a special low price because I'm testing out this new program, or I'm testing out this new product, or I'm doing a super low price because it's my birthday, because I want a testimonial at the end of this. So if you are offering a low price, it's great to have a reason that you're offering a low price. It just helps with with the human psyche to think, oh, that's why it's cheap. But it makes it easy to sell. And then as you get a full practice, you can just gradually put your prices up. It's interesting because a lot of coaches, and myself included, because it's what I was told to do, and it made it very hard for myself. I came out of coaching school and I'm starting to charge $125 a session. And I'm aware that I'm not an expert yet. I'm a freshly trained coach. And I'm trying to charge $125 a session. And I know there's counselors out there that are charging $50, $60 a session. And that there are psychologists charging $120 a session who've studied for 7 years and have been practicing for 20. So how can I justify this? It was when I dropped my prices that it felt so much easier to sell. And then gradually I started thinking, okay, I deserve more than this. I started to put my prices up. And you can grandfather your previous clients in and say, right, you know, I put my prices up, you get to stay on the old rate for the next 3 months or for the rest of your engagement with me, whatever. So it's not a big deal. But there's no other industry that I'm aware of where we're beginners and we're sent right out into the world and we're expected to charge these high fees. So that's just my take. I know there's a lot of people out there that say we should charge according to the value we offer to people's lives. We change lives. We should be charging $150, $300 a session. Well, if you have the confidence to go out and say, I'm $300 a session right off the bat, if you think you can do that confidently and you think people will pay, try it. There are no rules. Hopefully Mary might have found that article about how to price your coaching program. So although it's not, I am writing an article about how to price your coaching to help people, but it ended up being a much bigger project than I thought. So that article might give you some ideas and some things to think about. And hopefully Mary's found that and put that in the chat. Okay, we are at 11 o'clock. So I need to do a very quick wrap up. So it's thank you time. A huge thank you to Mary for all her support today. And an even bigger thank you to you all for attending and asking great questions and giving up your time to be here with me today. I really appreciate that. So the recording handout and slides, we will be sending out a link to the recording tomorrow, which will also have a link to the slides and handout on there. So if you haven't got it yet, do not worry. Feedback. Please do stay briefly to answer this 3 quick questions, 2 multiple choice and then an optional, and tell us what you thought of today's session. If you haven't already, you might want to request to join our Coaches Helping Coaches Facebook group. It's called Coaches Helping Coaches. Be sure to answer the joining questions. We work really hard to keep marketers out of the group, and one of the ways we do that is by looking at those joining questions. So be sure to answer those. Our next event will be Cindy Schulson, who will be talking to us about marketing. And I really hope that the COVID-19 situation will be improved by then. In the meantime, thank you everyone. Have a great rest of your week and wishing you all and your families happiness and health. Bye.